The best part about making your own list for your favorite game is that you get to create your own rules, as weird and strange as you have to tell yourself they have to be. For example, some people say that their game of the year candidates, they have to have finished the game. Other people say, well, it's got to be a game on a certain device or platform or console, or it needs to have come out within certain dates or time. So I've been thinking a lot about my Dodd Scientific's Doddcast Game of the Year list, and I don't know if I've gone overboard with constraints, but I've certainly forced a certain set of thinking on myself that I had no reason to do, but yet did it anyway. For example, no sports games on the list because if you know me, I play a lot of sports games. I do a show called the Press Row Podcast where we talk about sports games. We rank sports games everybody knows. So for me to put sports games on this list, I think would be terribly boring.
Right. I put the same constriction on myself. I did not put very many. I actually have a much more open-minded list than I think I've ever had, but that is one of the things that I did was like, well, I got to talk about my top sports games on the Press Row Hangout. Why double up?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
and they're different things to me. I mean, I know they're both video games, but to me, there's video games and there's sports games. They don't, like, how do you compare like The Last of Us to FIFA?
Right.
Kind of thing,
yep.
Exactly.
But for a minute I was thinking, well, maybe I put one, right? Maybe I limit myself to one sports game because, for example, NBA 2K15 I play whenever physically possible. It's just, it's got its hooks in me that much. But I said, nope, not going to do that.
It's my sports game of the year.
Absolutely. It's amazing on many levels. Which I could have an extended conversation happily with you right now, but I won't.
Screw all of the Game of the Year list. This is going to be the NBA 2K 2.5 hour podcast.
The other thing is I didn't play purposely. I did not play a lot of games this year, much less in volume than I would have in years past, because I made a decision. It wasn't like one day I made a decision, but over the last couple of years, as we've talked about, I've decided I'm not going to do what I used to do so much, which is just buy a whole slew of games and play a lot of them for a couple of hours and then never play them again. That's just not going to do that. It's not really about money, although it obviously is because games are very expensive, but it's just it's about the lack of anxiety when I'm not, and I still am staring at a stack of games, but at least it's not a stack of games that all came out in the last couple of months that I spent $60 for.
Right. The Rich Grisham of old would have bought Destiny, tried to pick up the light off the wall for 3 minutes, then put it on the shelf for 2 weeks, and then sold it. Instead, you did that through SharePlay for all of us to see.
So, the selection of games was diminished, but I do feel that I played a healthy variety of games this year on a healthy number of consoles, and without purposely trying to have it, I looked at my list and I realized that all the platforms are represented and a bunch of different stuff is on there. So I'm happy with that, and it proves to me personally that at least my approach for playing games these days is working. Because had I done what I typically done, I don't know that half these games would have been on the list because I would not have, played nearly as much of them as I had.
Right.
So that's helping. So those are the constraints that I put on either my list or myself this year. So, as you know, Pete Dodd, I am not a professional game journalist, despite what you try to tell me.
I didn't tell you that. That was printed.
and
you just happened to make the mistake of telling me that it was printed, so I repeat it a lot.
And redacted.
Oh, yeah. You did. I never asked about that.
Yeah.
You were like, can you please have that removed?
I
to the
said
person, and so they agreed. They're
they
like,
did. They
"Oh,
changed it. They thought it was a compliment. I'm like, that's not a compliment. They really said that. Like, oh, really? That's what we thought you
right,
were. I'm like, no, I'm a games writer.
hmm
So, um,
yeah."
but
Google game journalist right now, and tell me how many happy things you find.
um, so I didn't play. There's a lot more games, a lot more of the big games that came out this year that I didn't play, and I feel very good about that, Pete. Dot.
Hmm.
So,
Nice. Yeah, my process is different. Like in years past, I would pick games as like trying to make a statement in a way. Like this game, like which I accused you guys of with Super Mega Baseball. Which, by the way, when's the last time you played Super Mega Baseball?
well, hold on before you go right back on the offensive. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Let's be clear. There were two categories on that show. One was Rookie of the Year, for which I chose the golf club, and
Hmm.
one was your top three games, none of which was Super Mega Baseball for
Right,
me.
right.
Okay?
This isn't you, but it's your podcast, so
Okay.
it's I mean, it's like thanks Obama, thanks Grisham.
So I played Super Mega Baseball about a week ago. It was Christmas Eve, as a matter of fact, when I played
Right.
it. So that's the
Okay,
last time I
yeah,
played it.
that's probably more recent than me, and I liked it. I
Yeah,
mean,
me too.
I like the game. There's just
It's a
not a
good game.
reason to play it, and it's not the third best sports
No,
game.
I agree. It's not even, in my opinion, it's not the sixth or seventh best,
Right.
but that's me.
Okay.
But it's a
Good.
good game.
It is.
Yep.
It's fun. It would be more fun if I had friends. Like other than on the internet. But yeah, so there's a lot of things like in years past. Like I don't think it's going to be a surprise that Drive Club is somewhere on my list. In years past, I would probably not put that on my list and say, like I need to punish this game for the fact that its launch was so busted. But what I decided, like my list this year, is these are the games that brought me the most fun. Whether
Great.
they were broken, whether they cost too much, whether they're you know whatever million reasons people have to dislike them,
Yeah.
that have nothing to do with the gameplay. I threw all of that out the window.
Good.
It's just these are the games that I've enjoyed the most,
Yeah.
which makes sense. And we have a whole bunch of lists that we're going to be reading from people, and we have no idea what their criteria was.
Nope.
And I mean, some people, some of the lists, people explained why they picked the games that they picked, which is cool. And I'm looking forward to reading that. I intentionally didn't read them as they came in because I wanted to react to it, sort of like hearing it for the first time on the show. But I'm excited.
Me too. This is gonna be fun.
I think so.
So let's start. And by the way, what we're going to do is we're going to go over the list of various people first, friends of the show, people that have written in either through a couple tweets or through the forums and things like that. Then we're going to go through some Dodd Scientific's forum categories, review those, who won those, and we'll look at the Dodd Scientific's voted game of the year. Then we'll go through our personal lists. And I'm looking forward to it. So let's start. Octung Baby tweeted his top 3 list, which were, in no order, because it doesn't say the order, were Hearthstone, Shadow of Mordor, and Dark Souls 2. 3 games that made a lot of people, well, 2 games that made a lot of people's Game of the Year list. I don't know that Dark Souls 2 made as many, but I know that Shadow
It
of Mordor.
actually surprisingly did.
Okay.
And I need to give that game another chance because there's so many people that do like it, that like there's not many people that are like it's the best Souls game. But yeah, I didn't even finish it, but I love Demon Souls and I love Dark Souls 1, and Bloodborne was the game of the show for me at the PlayStation experience. So I think probably when it comes out on the PS4 and it has all of the DLC, because I have it on the PC, and I have the season pass like in my wish list, and I'm like, it's gonna go on sale. And there was the Thanksgiving sale and the Christmas sale just happened, and the price never moved. And so at this point, it's like I'll just play it on PlayStation 4.
There will probably be some sort of mega super Dark Souls 2, Bloodborne, Steam thing at some point that has everything. I would assume. I mean, they do that a lot.
Well, Bloodborne's a PlayStation 4 exclusive, but
well, there you go. Shows you what I know. Very little about that series and that creator, other than what you have told me. The next list comes from our friend Adam. Go for it.
Adam Burnett, your co-commissioner.
Yes, iron-fisted co-commissioner.
Yeah, it's good to have a co-commissioner.
It is spectacular.
Friend of the show and friend of myself and my wife, Germ, also known as Jeremy Wright, is my co-commissioner, and it's really nice when it's like you just can't deal with it, and you're just like, hey, dude, can you flip the week or make sure games are played? It's so nice having someone to pass that off to. I'm sure you agree.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and the best thing is we basically now are able to, because every week we do the Vegas lines, for the human versus human game. So we're also, by alternating that every week, it makes it a little easier for both of us to do that too. So always good to have a coach. And by the way, kudos to Madden for letting there be a co-commissioner, because this is a first-time thing this year in the new Madden.
Yeah. Madden has the best online league in sports games. Okay. So, Adam Burnett says, despite really wanting to, I capped games off that were HD'd or came out last year.
So there's a good straight, by the way. Interesting. He self-chosen constraint. That's funny.
So number 5 was Destiny. I came, I saw, I conquered, and I left. It's a good game, a really good game, if you have people to play with. The game does so much right, but fails in areas that are just mind-boggling. Why can't I play weekly heroics with randoms? Why can't randoms just join my game with ease? The game is flawed, but I enjoyed it for what it was, a step in an interesting direction. If they keep going and fix a lot of what I deem to be wrongs, I can't wait for Destiny 2. Number 4, a game that we both love, The Golf Club.
Love it.
This one is really simple. Good price, interesting premise, and it was the first golf game I have purchased for myself since Cyber Tiger way back on the PS1, not counting Hot Shots in parentheses. Number 3, Madden 15. So much right in this game. They made great improvements and didn't screw up anything. Almost. We'd be talking about practice, man, practice. Why'd they do that? I agree with that. Yeah. I miss practice. Number 2, Wolfenstein: The New Order. Without a doubt, the best FPS I played this year. This was my first Wolf game since Wolf 3D. The craziness didn't appeal to me before, but this game sure did. It's so interesting and well worth multiple plays. The diverging storyline was a nice twist. And number 1 for Adam Burnett is Dragon Age Inquisition. Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition, except everyone who made that joke already. I'm 81 hours into this game and still not done. Too much to do, but it's a lot of fun. Even if the end was disappointing, I still wouldn't move it. There's a lot of game for your money, and you can do as little or as much as you want.
Wow.
There we go.
Good stuff.
That was a great list. Great list and great explanations.
I also debated about making the golf club eligible because it is not a licensed sports game and because it was such a surprise. Had I not purposely excluded him, that would have definitely made my top 5.
Yeah. Well, I don't know my top 5, but it would have made my.
Would have
I
made.
have a top 10. Just FYI.
Oh my gosh, I have a top 5.
It's
I
not
know
like
you do
prior
like
years
lists.
when I had like the top 50
You enjoy
and
lists.
Mike Phillips read from 50 Shades of Grey.
And by the way, Mike Phillips says Dragon Age Inquisition is a terrible game, so I think he and Adam need to have a discussion about that.
Yeah. Well, I have words about that also. I'm just saving them for a little later.
Okay. All right, so now we are going to some forum folks that are terrific members of the Dot Scientifics Forum, which is my favorite place to go look at people talking about video games. We're going to start with Jave. I think we've settled that his name is pronounced Jave, correct? Didn't he give us a good explanation as to why that was, Jave? It's like his name is Dave, but
Yeah.
last name started with J, so we're going with Jave. All right. So Jave's top 5, he says these being limited games actually played this year. So number 5 is Conception 2, Children of the Seven Stars. Japan, am I right? Equal parts dating sim and dungeon crawler with innuendo for days. At some point, all you can do is shrug and say, well, it's a different culture. My feelings on this game ran from being simultaneously repulsed and intrigued to being amused by the absurdity of it all and eventually coming around and accepting it for what it is. Very few games actually get me to care about their characters, but this game did so while disadvantaging itself at every turn. But that's not really why it's on the list. When you put aside the creepy subtext, the fan service, the blatant persona envy, what you're left with is a very solid JRPG. Between character classes, elemental affinities, team builds, and so on, there never seems to be a shortage of options for customizing your party, and the battle system just begs to be broken wide open by clever players. Is it a contentious pick for the sake of being contentious? Maybe a little. Heck, if I hadn't played it for myself, I'd probably be as uncomfortable with the idea of this game as anyone else, but I can't help but feel glad that I took a chance on it.
He's a pervert.
Okay. I've never heard of the game, don't know anything about it.
It's a Vita game.
Okay.
For perverts.
Number 4.
Love you, Jave.
Number 4 is Dark Souls 2. If you focus entirely on the ways this game doesn't live up to its predecessor, you could be forgiven for writing it off entirely as a failure. Personally, I still feel that this game does enough things right to make up for its shortcomings and still balances out to become an excellent game in the end. Granted, there are aspects of this game that I barely notice, let alone think about critically, that pull others completely out of the experience. For example, I get that climbing to the top floor of a fortress, then riding an elevator up to an even higher point and emerging inside a volcano doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I just don't care enough to be put off by it. What I do care about are the improvements to the interface and to the combat, having new caves to explore, to not know what's ahead, to be caught off guard and swiftly reprimanded for my inattentiveness. In some ways, it probably helps that I'm not actually all that good at Souls games because the constant threat of death for any number of little mistakes is part of what keeps things exciting. And this game compounds that with the threat of enemies not coming back, meaning each area potentially has a hard limit on souls you can farm, and souls that you lose are truly irretrievable in a way that they weren't in the previous games. I kind of hate that, but I can't help admire it all the same. That is a terrific write-up.
Yeah.
I'm now going to...
By the way, this is the most in-depth write-up we got. Like even our explanations, I'm guessing, aren't going to be as in-depth as Jabe's are.
No.
And I'm not saying that as a cut down to Jabe. Like that's cool.
No, I'm just personally mortified now that I didn't write something nearly as good as what Jabe has done. But on the other hand, he is a pervert, so that's good.
Yeah.
Number 3 is Shovel Knight. Faux retro indie games have become something of a tired cliche. It's not hard to be cynical. The biggest problem is that there's a difference between a game with old-looking graphics and terrible in-jokes and something that actually understands why older games were fun in the first place. Shovel Knight does the latter perfectly, combining decades of progress in game design with all the little quirks and hiccups of an NES-era action platformer. Yes, indie developers may understand that games were harder back then, but they were hard in different ways than current games. One of the things I can't help but admire about Shovel Knight and the other games of its caliber is that they're challenging, but the challenge is authentic to the period that they're calling back to. Your movements have both the tight feel and constraints of an 8-bit game, the constant threat of getting knocked into a pit, enemies that respawn at the drop of a hat, and yet it never feels entirely unfair because the level of execution asked of the player is made with those limitations in mind, and it's rare to see games that get that feel just right.
You played a lot of Shovel Knight.
I did.
And it defeated you.
It did.
Does reading this make you want to go back to it, or are you still just no?
No, I have a tremendous amount of respect for Shovel Knight. I just don't have the stick skills to make it all the way through.
Right.
Just comes down to it, and
Same thing with me and Guacamelee.
yeah,
So,
I mean, I've just
I love that game so much, and I can't beat it.
me neither, and I love Guacamelee too, and I can't beat it. It's just it's a healthy respect, but it defeated me. I mean, you said it absolutely perfectly. That's what that game did to me. I totally get why people love it, but it's not on my list, and it's not on my list because it's too hard for me. Oh well. Number 2, Azure Strike Gunvolt. Outside of his cameo in Smash, it doesn't look like Mega Man is going to be making a comeback anytime soon. And so the next best thing, perhaps, is for the people who made those games what they are to move on to create new properties that can then carry the torch. While Kenji Inafuno's Mighty Number 9 may have captured the spotlight, the good folks at Inti Creates, or Inti, I'm not sure, Inti Creates went ahead and made a new IP of their own that follows in the spirit of the Mega Man Zero series. I had to come back recently and play through this again to make sure it wasn't just my excitement for the idea of this game getting the better of my judgment. I still feel pretty good placing it up here. It's not an overwhelmingly difficult game, although playing it well does involve mastering a particular technique, and the game hands out rewards to high-level players. Much like Shovel Knight, this game just feels right, but it does so without being a callback to older generations of games. Gunvolt is a very dynamic character with movement and style that both feel very modern.
Here is where I lose cred. I have never heard of this game.
Me neither.
Well, that's 2 on this list for you. At least
Yeah.
it's only 1 for me. So
Right.
I still got more gamer cred than you do.
Yeah, well, that goes without saying. And number 1 on Jave's Game of the Year list is Persona Q, Shadow of the Labyrinth, the winner for the most predictable choice ever. I love Etrian Odyssey. I also love Shin Megami Tensei. So needless to say, a game that combines Etrian Odyssey with SMT Persona is like a love letter just to me. A merging of these two hardcore JRPGs is just good sense on its own, but it's the way they manage to capture the strength of each series and put them together that continues to impress. Dungeons are big, complex, and hostile as one would come to expect from an EO game, and the gigantic cast of highly malleable demons and personas to make an endlessly customizable party that you'd expect from SMT, and with a combined cast of the very likable characters from Persona 3 and 4, which are 2 of the most well-written JRPGs ever made. No, really, I stand by that. It's hard not to just restate how great EO or SMT are on their own in relation to why this game is great. That's largely what it comes down to. The flow of the game moves naturally from preparing for an expedition into a labyrinth and exploring and mapping out the labyrinth, working out its many puzzles and secrets while being stalked by gigantic monsters. Then you emerge to restock on supplies and tweak your party configuration by fusing personas with one another and equipping them on your current team of explorers. The fusion system is as straightforward and painless as it's ever been, which make customizing even easier. Between all that and the character interactions, I'm never without something to look forward to.
That just made my brain literally explode. My brain literally is mush. I just like using the word literally wrong.
There you go.
He has a couple honorable mentions.
Yep.
You want to hit those?
Yep. Pushmo World, Fantasy Life, Bayonetta 2, 1001 Spikes, and X-Type Plus. You can certainly get a sense for the kinds of games that Jave likes. I have a feeling Madden is not an honorable mention for the honorable mention on his list. That's just me.
Right. And as a reminder, these are people on the Dodd Scientifics forums.
That's right.
And this is the sort of depth in which we get into with certain games, except for our one console wars thread, where it's just like, haha, my console outsold yours. But we've put that only in one thread, and the rest of it is like you have to be smart.
All right, well, it's your turn, Mr.
It is my
Dodd. You
turn.
are going to read, I believe, Reagan's list. Is that correct?
Yes, President Reagan has graced us again. He's a bigger fan of Double KO, and I am too. So I can't really blame him. But I get excited when he shows up again.
I love that show, by the way. It would be nice, and it's hard for me to criticize considering it's been so hard for us to put a regular show together, but, come on, Double KO. More than once every 4 months would be great.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Seriously. All right, so he went 1 through 5, but I'm going to start at the bottom and read up and go 5 through 1. His number 5 is Destiny, a game I like quite a bit. I played this mostly alone and quit after the story ended at level 22. I had never played Halo, had no expectations for a Halo-esque game, but I had fun. The core mechanics are amazing. I don't think I have ever played a shooter with better controls. Playing Far Cry 4 after this was rough. The critique this game got was somewhat reasonable, but the more I played, the less that critique felt relevant. I hope they improve for the sequel for players like me, but the foundations of the gameplay is rock solid. Well said, President Reagan.
Agreed.
Number 4, Lords of the Fallen. I never played a Demon Dark Souls game. He didn't say game on, but I'm going to put that there. But I enjoyed this game a lot. A new genre for me. It was pretty hard in places, but the combat was really fun. And it's nice to have a Dark Souls for people with kids. I'm sure From Software makes great games, and Lords of the Fallen made sure I'm getting Bloodborne day one.
Interesting.
Awesome. Yeah. And I'll be arguing later that Lords of the Fallen isn't even really easier than the Demon or Dark Souls games. It's just slightly tweaked. Number 3, a game that Rich Grisham hates with all of his soul. Valiant Hearts. The best soundtrack and graphic style of the year. This game successfully portrait the emergence of modern warfare and the new ways of killing each other while focusing on a story about humans and their hardship, hope, and despair. The gameplay is pretty good, but everything around it takes this from a decent game to a triumph in telling a story about war.
Also very well said.
That's how I feel whenever I play Call of Duty.
Yeah, when he says the emergence of modern warfare, he is not talking about Activision's annual game.
Number 2, Spelunky. I love Spelunky. Did not release on PS Vita this year, but I don't care. I love and hate this game. It almost drove me insane trying to beat Olmec.
Yep.
But I had some of the greatest moments in gaming getting there. It feels like an actual achievement getting to Olmec, and I can only admire those who keep going after that. Double thumbs up for me. No, it's not this year. Like we said before, like everyone has their own criteria, and that's awesome.
Yep, absolutely.
Number 1, Greg Stewart, Drive Club. MotorStorm never did anything for me. Okay, fuck you, President Reagan. But I love the WRC games on PS2. For me, this is a return to form. Great handling combined with a lovely sense of speed, great tracks, and amazing graphics. This is what I want from a racer. And every second I race, I'm having fun. It's a problem. Its problems did not take away, and the game has gotten better with recent patches. This game feels like it was made for me, my favorite racer of all time. All time. And he's European. He knows more about racing than we do.
Strong words.
Now, you're lucky after you just had to read the wordiest top 5 ever.
So now I get the
least
wordiest. Yes. This one comes from Nace9, and he's got 5. Number 5 is Mario Kart 8. I believe that's the first time that's come up so far. Number 4 is Drive Club.
Greatest racer ever, President Reagan.
Number 3 is Infamous Second Son, a oft-forgotten title of 2014. I have a feeling we'll be chatting a little bit more about that later. Number 2 is Shadow of Mordor, and number 1, a fantastic choice, dare I say, the most fantastic choice is NBA
Scott
2K.
Gallagher, if you're
NBA.
watching, he did favorite. He did favorite when I tweeted the link out. He might be
nice.
watching.
NBA 2K15 is Nace 9's game of the year.
Boom.
Boom.
Oh God, I got to read it again.
Yeah, here you go. Alex 840 is now in your hands, Mr. Pete Dodd.
All right. Alex 840 is a amazing person. I tried to get us both that PlayStation that looks like PlayStation 1 when I went to PSX, and yeah, I won't get into details, but he was really helpful. The whole thing fell through, but whatever. That was just the weirdest thing to mention. Okay, first off, his honorable mentions are Broken Age, Infamous, and Drive Club. Drive Club, the greatest racer ever, President Reagan. Number 5, AC Unity. I have only encountered 3 minor glitches in the 50 or so hours I've played Unity. Yes, the frame rate suffers when too many NPCs are on screen, and the mission design, UI, and map still have issues. But I still have had the most fun with this game than I've had with any other AC in the series. Interesting. That's how I felt about 4, just because I got to be a pirate. All right, his number 4 is South Park: The Stick of Truth. I'm one of those people who still watches South Park. Playing this game made me feel rewarded for doing so, while also offering a constant stream of new jokes. I'm amazed at how much they nailed the look and feel of the game, so I felt like I was playing an episode of the show.
I really need to play this game.
I do too. I am a South Park fan, and I don't know why I have not played it.
Yeah, I wouldn't call myself a fan, although I was for years, many years ago. I mean, it's amazing how long the show has been on and how they continue producing it. And I'm not like, oh, it was good back then and it's not good now. No, I'm not saying that at all. It's just, it's the same thing with The Simpsons. I love The Simpsons, and I haven't watched new episodes in years. It just doesn't, you know, it's just not part of what I'm doing, but I know they're there, and if I ever want to watch them, I can. So, but I've heard enough people say good to really good things about this game to know that it doesn't matter that I haven't watched the South Park in years. A good game is a good game, and a lot of people have told me, or I've heard a lot of people say it's a good game. I need to play this.
I agree. I am looking forward to it, and I don't know when. I mean, I'm gonna end up playing it on the PC, obviously, and it was just on sale for like $22. I'm probably gonna be an asshole and wait for it to be $5.
Yeah, I could see me doing that too.
Like, this is the best game. It's worth $100.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I because of what we said, I don't buy that many games. It'll have to be like cheap. But like when I see it cheap, I'll be like, you know what, I'm gonna get it.
Right. All right, his number 3, Mario Kart 8. Didn't expect to like this as much as I did. Great looking, great playing, great sounding, and great DLC.
All true.
Yeah, no arguments there. Including didn't expect to like it as much as I did. Like when I got that game, I was like, well, it's a new game for my Wii U. And then I started playing it and was like, holy crap, no, this is just a good game.
Right.
You know, like this isn't just like a new Wii U game. This is an actual good game. So, props to Mario Kart 8.
Yep.
Number 2, this is interesting to me.
Yeah.
Mostly because of what he says. Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes. Played this game more than I played Infamous Second Son, which I platinumed.
Wow.
Heard that the array of gameplay options provided the possibility, but so what? A lot of games have replayability. What made me fall in love with Ground Zeroes was it made me want to replay all the missions just to see the different outcomes. Nice. I can't even imagine that, because that's like, this game I think is like 3 hours long, and I have not finished Infamous Second Son, but I'm like 12 hours into it. So this dude played a lot of Metal Gear Ground Zeroes. All right, his number 1, which is everyone's number one, really. It's a remaster, and there's some people who deny that it's their number one, and they're just lying to themselves. The
I
Last
finished
of
the
Us.
game. I finished it. Okay, Pete. I finished it.
The Last of Us remastered.
Not the
My
remaster.
favorite game of all time. Props. I'll mainly praise the Left Behind DLC here, though. I still have not played that. Why have I not played that?
I haven't played it either. I know why I haven't played it. I haven't played it because originally it came out on the PS3 after the PS4 came out, and then I didn't get the remastered part. I've heard the
Yeah,
DLC.
see, I got the remastered. I have it. Why have I not played it?
Then
Like,
yeah,
I'm almost I'm afraid to play it. Like I've whatever.
is it a thing
I'm
where
going to my psyche right now in the middle of Alex's number one.
is
This
it
is
a
all Alex.
but is it a thing? Hold on, Alex can chill out for a second.
Alex, take a break.
Sometimes there are bands and artists that I really like that I purposely don't get all of their music because I still want to have something of theirs out there that I haven't listened to. Is that a thing for you with The Last of Us DLC, perhaps?
Yeah, I think so. Like I feel like I'm not done with The Last of Us, and I also fear a sequel, even though I think there's going to be a sequel. And the sequel may be amazing, but I've heard from so many people that Left Behind is incredible
Mm-hmm.
that it's just like if I do that, then my Last of Us is over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know what you mean.
So it's very similar to And it being DLC, that like mostly that happens with me, like with bands, like mostly underground bands. I like that, like they'll put an EP out, and I'll be like, I'm just gonna skip the EP, so I can go back to it in like 4 years,
Right.
and then have older sounding version of that band.
Mm-hmm. I totally
Alex,
get it.
giving us such good conversation there. Okay. The subtle changes in gameplay really impressed me. Using the same gameplay mechanics, but for entirely different purposes, such as a bunch of creative mini-games, was really creative and allowed for a lighter tone than was seen in the main game. Just as impressive was the ability to pitch hunters and clickers against each other, which, with careful planning, brought a whole new dynamic to the combat. All this, along with the perfectly told story, made this a shoo-in for my game of the year as early as February this year. So, wow, yeah. So he wasn't even lying. Like it was the DLC that that's interesting. His top two things are both like a couple hours long. Alex is not a stickler for like you have to give me many hours.
Hey.
And neither are you and I. Like the shorter the game, the better.
The less, the better, man. Absolutely. And it's not, to me, it's not about like time or being busy. It's something that I've just learned in life and everything. A movie, a television show, a book. I just read the book. I don't know if you read it or saw the movie or anything. I read the book Gone Girl, which I read the whole thing in 3 days and a lot of traveling back and forth, and it was just, I love the pacing and the fact that they probably could have gone a whole lot more, but they didn't. Like it was less is better in a lot of cases for me in many types of media, and I think my favorite games really hit that mark well. So I couldn't agree more. Awesome. Mace Wank is next. Again.
I met Mace Wank.
Oh yeah, that's right.
At PSX.
Nice. He's got an excellent list. We're going to start with the 4 games he really, really enjoyed that he did not feel were top 5 quality. He originally wanted a top 10 list, but MLB 14 was number 10, and while it's fantastic, it has no place in an overall Game of the Year discussion because Game of the Year it ain't. That is heresy around these parts, sir, but okay. Honorable mentions were Forza Horizon 2, Divinity: Original Sin, first time we've heard that, although not the first time I've heard it, from anybody. First time I've heard it here tonight. Infamous Second Son and Octodad Deadliest Catch, another game I know that I need to play. Have to play that game. Number 5 is Hearthstone. played the crap out of
Can I
Magic.
interrupt you real quick?
Yeah.
You called it Octodod,
Oh,
which...
Did I?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's a holdover from my coach in
Yes.
Madden, whose arms, for some reason, would stretch halfway across the field.
Yes.
And we called him Octodod.
Love
and
that
I think
guy.
that's why it got stuck in your head.
That guy is
Anyway,
great.
go on.
So number 5 is Hearthstone. He played the crap out of Magic in high school, and this takes me back. It's balanced pretty well, and I love the fan service with the Warcraft universe characters. I know Pete, and obviously someone mentioned earlier Hearthstone. I think, Octone Baby did. You're a big Hearthstone guy. I'm sure that'll come up in further discussions a little later on. Number 4, South Park Stick of Truth. Hilarious South Park turn-based RPG. Awesome. Excellent summary there. Number 3, Dragon Age Inquisition. BioWare returns to form, makes an awesome game that for some reason nobody is buying. It has multiplayer. I haven't played it. I've heard people say it has not sold well. Is that accurate?
Yeah, it's pretty accurate.
Maybe
it's sold okay. I mean, the thing with BioWare games is that they don't need to do like Assassin's Creed numbers. They don't have 1,000 people working on them. So I think EA is probably pleased, but they're not doing backflips over the sales.
just a suggestion, don't release it at the same time as 15 other AAA games. That might help too.
Right. Especially in RPG, in the middle of boom, boom, shoot, shoot.
Yeah. Although, what do I know? Maybe, we complain about people releasing these games at the same time, but maybe they know what they're doing a lot more than I do when I condemn them for it.
Rich, if you're going to be on a podcast, you have to think you know more than everyone else. Same thing if you're going to be a professional video game writer, which you almost were until you vetoed it.
Number 2, we got to start insulting people who like me too. Number 2, Diablo. Diablo 3, Reaper of Souls. Yes, it's an expansion. Yes, I basically redid the entire game, so it counts. Put countless hours into it. It's everything that Diablo 3 needed to be. Amen, brother. If you like a game that came out, who cares if anybody else thinks anything about it? Couldn't agree more.
I played the sugar out of that game. And then Destiny came out, and then I forgot it existed.
Then, number 1 is Destiny. Continue to have no idea why I like this game.
He was in our raid today. He joined us.
Can't put it down.
And it was awful. It was awful for me. I died. I was the first person to die 7 times in a row.
Oh my.
We on the first boss. I found new ways to die every time.
That is.
And there's 6 people, so for me to die first 7 times in a row really, really took a lot of skill on my part.
That is some Grisham level performance right there.
But according to Bit of Drizzle, who is our raid leader, I had to take off. I had a family emergency, but he said he talked to me, Swank, and he's like, "Yeah, I want to play with you guys more." So I did put him off it at least.
Good.
Anyway, go on, read his thing.
He says it's both the best and worst game on his PS4. He can't put it down. He's got a ton of games on there, so I don't even know how that's possible. So there you go. That is our man Macewank's top 5. Up next, you have Mr. Tony Fox.
I love Tony Fox.
And again, he did not number these, so we don't know.
No.
Technically, we don't know what order this is.
I think it's 1 to 5, but it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter because he explains it. So
yeah, good point.
We can decide for him where they rank. Velocity 2X. Fuck yeah. First time that's come up. Amazing game. Fast, fun, deliberate, amazing fun with my favorite soundtrack of the year. I love this game, and it was probably my favorite game to play this year. I guess I'd make it number 1. Infamous, Second Son, the culmination of all of the best elements of the Infamous games in a streamlined story and city environment. Some may say a little too streamlined, but I enjoy the lesser amount of busy work. Beautiful game and probably the best graphics I played through this year. Yeah. Well, Drive Club, but yeah. Transistor. I'm still not sure what the process exactly was, but the overall narrative worked for me. More importantly, the functional aspects of the game are among my favorites this year. The action RPG elements and this isometric design work so well for me. Really loved getting to know how each function worked in the various passive and active ways it could. I loved playing and finishing this game, even if it distracted a bit from playing some other games. Great looking, pretty fun game to play through. Number 4, even though they're not numbered, Scott O'Gallagher, NBA 2K15. I don't much enjoy putting sports games into the mix for these kinds of lists if they're annual releases. However, I thought NBA 2K15 refined the gameplay and experience in ways that made it my favorite NBA sim since 2K12. If the soundtrack were better and 2K Online servers were ever any good, I'd actually consider it my game of the year. VC, being virtual currency, continues to be the worst aspect of the 2K series, but the gameplay simulations in this game are so good, and I really enjoy playing the game.
Can I interrupt you here? Can I interrupt you?
Show to make a decision worth hearing, but the sports genre was really strong this year, and I thought that this was the strongest non-racing sports game I played.
Let me, one thing I will say about VC, and I'm not pro VC or anti VC, but I will say just one little story or anecdote. Mm-hmm. I'm playing my player, the single player career mode, and at the end of your first year, you have a few choices of where you can go, and if you re-sign, I guess this is technically a spoiler, but not really. If you re-sign with the club that you are signing with, you get a higher VC per game. And really? I thought that was so interesting, and then now playing through every game in my second season and getting the little more bump of VC every game makes me feel even happier that I made that. And what's cool about that, not only is it just an interesting choice you need to make, but it's also similar to the real NBA, where if the teams that you play for can sign you for more money than other teams. And I have played, 50 games of my career, and between that and the little app where you can get free VC, I have gotten my guy. I've maxed out one of the attributes. I'm pretty high on another one, and I'm at level 85. Haven't spent a dime, and so I am. They did, in my opinion, they did VC perfectly this year in NBA 2K15. So just wanted to mention that. Just a cool little thing where you can get a little more if you re-sign with your same club.
I would say perfectly would mean that you can't purchase it. Like I have no problem with games having economies.
Yeah.
Because that does add to it, and you want to do things to make more money and do things to make less money. But when games have economies that you can then spend real money to get in-game money, that's where the balance falls off.
Yeah, I mean, I will not argue that. I'm getting more than 1,000 VC every game that I play now, like even if I have a terrible game. And that's only like I said, about 40, 50 games in. So,
I don't have any major complaints with the VC this year, but I kind of feel like that's because it was so awful last year.
Yeah.
It's like last year they hacked us with a cleaver.
Yes.
And this year they kind of scratched us with a butter knife.
Right, exactly.
Getting scratched with a butter knife hurts, but it's like, well, at least it's not the cleaver.
It could be a little Stockholm Syndrome. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah. All right. His number 5, probably. Destiny. Every list has a game put there simply because it would be dishonest to exclude it. Destiny is it for me. It is my mindless game playing alternative Is that what I'm doing? I, I don't have too many of those, as I don't really play too many mindless games, but I keep a couple on tap. The online co-op is what I've always wanted in games like COD slash other FPSs, and I would love to see it included in other games. I really like playing through in co-op, like the Lego games. Beautiful scenery, fun co-op, unlike anything else out there For those reasons, it makes my list of great games this year.
Yep, I'm pretty sure that was number 5.
Yeah.
All right. Hole 666 has a list of sorts. It starts with Velocity X2 on both Vita and PS4. The Vita version is, to me, the better version. It's hard but fair, proper old school gameplay. I played quite a bit of this. It didn't grab me.
You're an awful person.
Not saying I disliked it. I liked it, but and I made it to a certain point in time. So I played, the other type of way that you can play the game. I liked it, but maybe it's just.
So you made it to like the 4th level.
What's that?
I said, so you made it to the 4th level?
No, I made it probably 20, something like that.
Gotcha.
And I'm not saying all of it won't go back to. I mean, Velocity is a great game to just be like, oh wait, I'm sitting on a plane and I got my Vita and here's Velocity 2X and hit the button and you're having fun. Like it just fun game, just didn't grab me. That's all.
Right.
But I'm probably not seeing that's more me than Velocity, I believe, because more than a few people have it on their lists. Destiny, what to say that hasn't already been said. My personal game of the year, but for many, the worst. Seamless gameplay, great with friends, and great to just roam around and explore. Drive Club, even at launch, the sheer quality shone through. Great driving mechanics and very visual, too. Now, in a mostly working state, a must-own racer. Pete, why did you log in as Hall 666 and put this list on here?
Well, I have multiple alts on multiple forums.
There you go.
Just because I need my sphere of influence to be as large as possible. And I figure, anything with 666 on the end.
Who would notice?
I got the death metal crowd.
There you go.
They're small, but they're passionate.
Yeah.
So.
And he also has Zen Pinball, just an older game, but so many new tables out this year and oh so playable. Great on all 3 of my PlayStations. Big smiley face. I have a weird problem with Zen Pinball, Pete, in that for some reason I don't want to buy tables. I don't know why. Why don't I want to buy tables? Is it because I'm terrible at video pinball? That probably has something to do with it.
I have bought tables for Zen Pinball and for Pinball Arcade, and I don't think I've got my money's worth out of any of them. And that's not a insult to the games. It's like, I think this is going to be a lot of fun. And then I start playing, and I'm like, this is cool, but I'd rather play something else.
Yeah, that's probably what mine is too with it too. All right, so those are some individuals from the forums, and now we are going to shift to some categories, official Dodd Scientific Forum categories, which will be fun. Various. I think there are a total of 6 categories in addition to the Game of the Year. So the first category is, and I like this one, the Dodd Sci Mid-Level Upstart of the Year. Maybe you want to explain a little bit what the category means.
Well, it was sort of stolen from you. You guys on Press Row had Rookie of the Year.
Mm-hmm.
Some of these studios may have had smaller games before now that I just didn't know about, but these are games that sort of came out of nowhere from studios that I hadn't heard of, and then we had people vote.
Okay. So, the results are Bound by Flame was nominated but did not get any percentage. Mm-hmm. Super Mega Baseball and Outlast both had 13% of the votes. The Golf Club and Lords of the Fallen both had 20% of the votes, and the winner was, with 33%, Alien Isolation,
Right.
which a very
Which was
polarizing game.
published by Sega,
Right.
and I didn't think belonged there, but Darby, I just had a child, said, "Where the fuck is Alien Isolation?" So I put it on the list, and then all of a sudden everyone started voting for
Boom! Yeah. Everyone I know that has played this game that is a fan of Alien loves it. Like,
Yeah.
not necessarily loves all of everything about the game, but they, to a person, they're like, oh, they nail the feel,
Mm-hmm.
the sense, the visuals, the vibe, the era, not just the era of where the game is, of where the movie is supposed to be, but like the era of when the original movie was filmed. Just a lot of raving about that kind of stuff.
Right. I own it. It scares the shit out of me, so I rarely play it. But yeah. So, and I don't know who the developer was. I mean, I know it was published by Sega, but it could have been a developer's first game. So it may deserve to be here. It may not. Either way, it won. So that's that.
Okay, so do you want to then go through the next category, which is the Dodsai Best Small Indie Game of the Year?
I will do that. I will first say the reason I called it small/indie was because we can argue like, oh, that game was published by Sony, but it was made by like 2 people, and
Right.
Whatever. So instead of getting into arguments of what's indie and what isn't, these are just games that are small. So in last place, with 4% of the vote, and this is an Activision game, so yeah, like it would be hard to claim this to be indie, is Geometry Wars 3. And then we have, with 12% of the vote, Binding of Isaac Rebirth.
You love that game.
I do. I really do. It's not what I picked, though. We have 3 games tied for second. And all 3 of these games are amazing. And it's going to break both of our hearts. With 19% of the vote, times 3, we have Transistor, Valiant Hearts, and Velocity 2X.
I voted for Valiant Hearts.
I voted for Velocity 2X. And Transistor was well worth the vote also.
Yes.
Number 1 with 27% of the vote, I'm guessing this is probably the closest vote, was Shovel Knight. People love Shovel Knight.
People love their Shovel Knight. I can't argue it. I understand it. Mm-hmm. Shovel Knight destroyed me, personally. Up next is the Dodsai PC exclusive of the year. Another really interesting category because they don't get a lot of discussions in a lot of a lot of media outlets, but certainly get played by a whole lot of people.
Well, the thing with the PC though is that it mostly these days excels at multi-platform games, and people are like, oh, it's 720p on my thing, and then like PC elitists are like, I'm playing it at 4K 60 frames per second, but like actual PC exclusives are few and far between, and they tend to be in genres that are not that popular. Right. But there are a lot of genres that I like. It's mostly, like strategy games, shit like that. So, So that's what we got here, basically.
All right. Nominated but not voted for was Endless Legend. And then you have a 3-way tie for second at 18% between Legend of Grimrock 2, Civilization Beyond Earth, and Football Manager 15. The winner by a landslide with 45% of the votes is Divinity Original Sin. Again, a game that in a couple of areas I have heard people raving about.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know much about it, but I definitely I have a healthy respect for it based upon feedback I've heard about it.
Right. We are not really the destination to go for the PC Game of the Year. Just throw it out there. Dot Scientifics is a great community. We're not really a PC gaming community. So, yeah.
Yep.
I will say this was the least voted on topic. Like, people didn't even pretend. They just were like, nah. Which says something about the community, right?
Yeah, there you go.
Like, they're not just out there to bullshit. All right. PlayStation 4 exclusive of the year. Okay, I will explain number one in a second. With 4% of the vote, and that 4% of the vote is me and only me, is Little Big Planet 3. Tied for the next place is Drive Club and MLB The Show, both with 16% of the vote. Infamous Second Son, 24% of the vote. And The Last of Us Remastered won with 40% of the vote. Now, the reason for that is there's going to be a vote that we read off coming up that is the best remaster of the year that isn't The Last of Us or Halo. So we could put The Last of Us and Halo into the exclusive. I made that decision. If it doesn't make sense, yell at me.
Makes perfect sense to me. I'm totally cool with it.
All right. So
up next, we have the Dodsci Wii U Game of the Year. Very, very interesting. Not just the category, or not just the games, but also the voting too.
Mm-hmm.
Hyrule Warriors nominated but did not place. Then tied for next are Captain Toad Treasure Tracker and Super Smash Brothers, both with 5%. Little surprised Super Smash Brothers didn't get.
Yeah, I was surprised to see Smash Brothers that low. Like, I'm not a Smash Brothers guy, but
right.
People are Smash Brothers guys.
Yes, absolutely. Up next came Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze with 14% of the vote. Bayonetta 2 with 19% of the vote. And then overwhelmingly with 57% of the vote was Mario Kart 8. Can't argue with that. Again, surprised Super Smash Brothers. Not surprised Bayonetta 2 getting some love, coming in second place. People that love Bayonetta.
Yep.
So, not surprised by that.
Yeah. And Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze was amazing, but it came out so early in the year. The fact that it's got 14% coming out so early in the year is a testament to how good of a platformer it is.
Yep.
All right. Next up is the best remaster that isn't Halo or The Last of Us. This is this is just rigged. First off, I added Rayman Legends because I thought that on the PS3 and the 360 that it was 720p, and it was like, and you know, people complain so much, like, oh, there's so many remasters. I couldn't make a list of 5 without adding the 2 games that I removed. So I put Rayman Legends there, and someone voted for it. So Rayman Legends and Sleeping Dogs Definitive Edition, both at 4%. And Metro Redux also is at 4%. And then in second place would be Tomb Raider Definitive Edition. And then with 67% of the vote is GTA 5. Rich Grisham's favorite game.
Hey, I loved GTA 3, loved Vice City, loved San Andreas. Loved them. Mm-hmm. I've grown out of that series. As it's gotten more realistic, it's gotten less appealing to me. That's all.
All right. This is yours to read, but I want to explain it first. How we came up with this.
Okay.
This is the Dot Scientific Forum's Game of the Year. But
wait. We missed the Xbox One exclusive.
Oh shit. Okay. Yeah, you read that and then I can explain and then. I mean, does
Um,
Xbox have games? I don't. Kidding.
Nominated but not getting any votes were both Halo Master Chief Collection and D4 Dark Dreams Don't Die.
Hmm.
Tied for second at 28% were Sunset Overdrive and Forza Horizon 2, and the overwhelming winner at 44% was Titanfall, Pete Dodd's Game of the Year.
Yeah, Titanfall is fucking great. It's not my game of the year, but it's close. Um. All right. So, game of the year. DJ Funk Monk,
Mm-hmm.
also known as Disco Batman, um, which is a great name.
Yes.
The way he did this was he had like everybody put together their top five lists, and then he picked, or not picked, but went through the votes and took the top five vote getters, and then put that as the game of the year for us to vote on. So, like, if my game of the year, let's just say, was what is in here? Forza Horizon 2. My game of the year is Forza Horizon 2. It's not on this list, so I would have to pick my game of the year based off of what my favorite game is here. So this is kind of like the Dodd Scientific Forum Hive Mind game of the year,
Yep.
and it's very close except for the winner. So in last place we have Dragon Age Inquisition, and then in second to last place, or with 11% of the vote, also it got a good number of votes. Second to last place with 16% of the vote is Infamous Second Son and Drive Club. We love Drive Club. We do things. Second place would be Titanfall with 19% of the vote. And first place is Destiny with 38% of the vote, which makes sense. I know there's a lot of people who have a lot of problems with Destiny, but the whole thing about our forums is playing games together,
Yeah.
which is why you see Destiny, Titanfall, and Drive Club
Yep.
there, where they're not on other lists, because
Yep.
we played those games together and we had a good time playing them together. Um, and Destiny wins that.
As well it should, right? I mean, that's what the majority of people, not well, no, that's what a lot of people. I'm saying the majority is probably not accurate, but that's what a lot of people that go to Dodd Scientifics have sort of centered themselves around, which is fantastic, right? That was
Right,
one of the whole reasons was to create a community of people that we wanted to play with, and so
right,
that's great.
right. That was one of the key things that I kept telling you is I want to play video games with these people. Like, I don't want to just talk down to them.
Right.
I want to enjoy games with them. And for the most part, that's worked out well.
All right. Do we want to take a quick break before we get into the personal list, or do we want to keep on rolling?
I would love to take a quick break.
Okay, let's take a 2-minute break. We'll be right back.
Right.
All right. Hello, sir.
Hi.
We are back.
We are back. By the way, did before we actually get started, did you ask that because you read the chat or because you just needed a break?
There's a chat.
Yeah.
Oh,
At 8:43, which it's now 9:39, I wrote,
oops.
I needed to take a piss really bad. And I'm like, read it, read the chat, read it.
Okay, I just read the chat. Yikes. Sorry
So
about that.
there's a little behind the scenes for the people watching on YouTube.
Oopsie. All right.
Yeah, well, it felt great.
So, a couple things. First of all, you have 10, right? You've got a top 10 list.
Yeah, yeah. Let
And I
me.
have a top 5 list. But I want to, before we get into our personal lists, I want to say one thing about, a couple things.
Mhm.
A game that I reserve the right to retroactively add to my top 5 list. So, in a few
Okay.
months, if we are revisiting this list, I
Right.
reserve the right to change it.
Like
Um,
when I keep bugging Press Row Podcast about whether they're still playing Super Mega Baseball or not.
right, exactly. Then, and that game is Little Big Planet 3
Oh, it's so good.
because I got it when it came out, but then because of time did not get a chance to play it. But I also wanted to play it with my son,
Hmm.
and being able to sit down, the two of us, and play is, it's not the easiest thing to do because of life and reasons and whatnot. So, but just in the last couple of days, because I sort of pretended to, I didn't pretend to. It was in my stocking for myself at Christmas, so he knew that I got it, and he wanted to play it.
Right.
And so the last couple of days, like not a couple of weeks ago, like just in the last couple of days, we both sat down and started playing. And before we started playing it, I told him, like, hey, I don't know a lot about this game, but I'm pretty sure we're going to have to sit and sort of listen and learn how to do stuff. And as we talked about before, my son loves to create levels. Like, he loves to build levels. If there's a game that lets him build levels, he's all
Right.
for that. And the
Which is
first
why
thing,
he's the greatest son
and the
until I
first
have
thing
one.
the first thing that he asked is, "Hey, Dad, does this game let you build levels?" And I said, "Yes, but I'm pretty sure you got to play through a lot of it first to get the stuff." So, because one of my biggest concerns about this game was the entry, right? The
Hmm.
getting through it, and the first hour or so is, when you've got a 7-year-old who's really just itching to play, and the kid knows games. Like, the kid plays Portal, he plays Mario Kart, he plays Sound Shapes, like, he knows games. So the first hour and a half is a little tough, just to get through all of the things. But we now played 3 or 4 of the first 3 or 4 levels, and it is really impressive,
So
really beautiful.
the added depth, like in the things
Yes,
that shoot you back and forth,
yes,
so
and
cool.
and so we played it for the first time last night, and then
Hmm.
tonight before bed I asked him, "Do you want to play it again?" He said yes, and then we got to. In fact, we're actually on the 3rd level at the boss battle. One
Hmm.
of the things that I love about the game is that you can play 2 people right away. Like, just the two of our little sack boys are running around, and he did a little customization to his character, and I did a little customization to mine, and we died 3 or 4 times at the first boss, and we're sort of learning how to do it, and it was very, very late. So I'm like, okay, we got to go to bed. So tomorrow we're going to try to beat that first boss and stuff. But
Hmm.
I hope that we're able to continue to play this game together as a cooperative experience. I like that it exists, that it allows 2 people to play seamlessly. It looks beautiful. It is has so many of the things that I love about video games in a positive way in it. So
Right.
I do not have it on my list, but Pete Dodd, I reserve the right to add it anywhere from 1 to 5 on my list because, after a couple of hours, I can't put it in there, but I could see it vaulting to the top.
Well, fear not, Rich. It is on my list.
Okay, good. So it's getting some love there.
I
Another game. Oh, go ahead.
I just want to say I actually have 3 lists. I have Game of the Year 1 through 10, surprised they didn't make it 1 through 7, and then surprises, as in games that they weren't top 10, but they were a lot better than I thought they'd be.
You love lists.
I do.
Wow.
I do.
A game that also is not on my top 5 that I, as of right now, don't expect it to be, but I hope that I could also reserve the right to put it back on there is Super Smash Brothers. My son has it for his 2DS. We also have it for the Wii U. We tried it on the Wii U, and neither of us knew what to do. And
Right.
my son at one point, not very far in, is like, I have no idea what's going on. And those words have never come out of his mouth before playing Super Smash Brothers. And the two of us are just baffled by it. Not even by, like, the fighting, just by everything. Like, what am I supposed to do? Like, I need a tutorial for that game because so many people like it and so many people say how much fun it is to play with somebody right next to you. So I'm clearly doing it wrong. But I have a gut feeling Little Big Planet would have been high on my list had I played it sooner, and I have a gut feeling Super Smash Brothers won't. But those are sort of two wild cards because I didn't play them enough because of all sorts of different reasons. So I just wanted to say that at some point, so I decided to make now that point.
That's where you made that point.
Perfect. All right, so I think we need to get to one of your 14 various lists.
I'm gonna blast through my 2 lists that aren't my top 10.
Okay.
Because because I think I could do it quickly. Surprises, like this is like the either new games or just games I didn't expect to be great that were great, or genres that I hate and I end up enjoying. So number 1 is the Golf Club. Game came out of nowhere. It was amazing.
Yep.
Who knew there could be an indie golf game with a course designer? Number 2 is the opposite of the Golf Club. Call of Duty Advanced Warfare is so much better than like the last 4 or 5 Call of Duties. It's ridiculous. Number 3 is Sniper Elite 3. I've played quite a bit of co-op with Darby, friend of the show, and I've also played it single player. It's not the best looking game, but it is fun. Number 4 is Outlast. I didn't beat it, but I played far more of that game, which scared the crap out of me than I play any game that scares the crap out of me.
Yeah, I like that game a lot, and I don't like games like that at all.
Yeah. That game was a quality game. Like whether you're like me and hate horror, or if you are, to bring up Darby again, he loves horror games.
And also, and not to belabor this, but also just really good at making you think and figure stuff out. Like when you're slinking around downstairs in the basement and you're trying to hide from this dude and you're trying to sneak around and get a couple of things that you need and then get the heck out of there. Wow, just great feeling of fear and claustrophobia. And yeah, good stuff.
Right. Number 5 is Bound by Flame. Bound by Flame is like a B-tier version of a BioWare RPG, and the voice acting and story were awful, but I beat it. And I only beat like 6 games this year. I really enjoyed it. So next list I'm going to blow through is surprised they didn't make it. Most of these is because I didn't play enough of them. So Far Cry 4. What I played I loved, haven't played enough of it. Dragon Age Inquisition. What I played I loved, and I haven't gone back to it in a week and a half, and I don't know why. Will I ever? Who knows?
All right.
Number 5,
Hold on.
Wolfenstein.
Wait.
Oh, okay.
Wait.
Waiting.
This is the part. This is the point where we have to have this conversation, right? So, I really have a lot of respect for Mike Phillips' opinions on games. He's the only person who I've heard say anything negative about Dragon Age. Yet, it seems like his a lot of the things he says are what other people say that they love about it, and he says he can't stand. Why is he anti and so many other people, including you, are? What's the disconnect there?
It's just boring. Like, that's my major problem with it. It looks good, it plays decent enough, the voice acting's fine. There just isn't like that spark where you're like, this is amazing. But then, looking at Adam's list, co-commissioner of the Press Row podcast, Madden League, he has it at number 1. He said he played 80-something hours of it. Like, I feel like I'm not writing it off yet. I feel like maybe I will hit that point.
Right.
But as of yet, to me, it feels like a Ubisoft game, like where you open up the map and there's a trillion side quests and they're all really boring.
Yeah.
And then you go do the main quest and it's like, well, you're not really powerful enough, so you have to go do the boring side quests, and it just is not doing it for me.
Yep. Okay. The judges will allow that.
Number 5 is Wolfenstein. I will love that game someday. I just keep not playing it. And I don't know why. There's no reason for me to not. Number 4 is Trials Fusion. I feel like Trials Fusion is a step backward. I bought the season pass. I feel like I got ripped off there. It's like, oh, season pass. We're going to give you 4 new tracks every 5 months. Number 3 is Divinity: Original Sin. That is a game that, when I get into it, I will love it. It's just, it's a game that you have to dive into head first, and I just haven't. Number 2, Infamous Second Son. I love the Infamous games. This is the first one I haven't finished.
Yeah,
and I don't know why.
This one did not make my list either, and I would have been surprised had within the first few hours of me playing it, after I climbed the Space Needle and had that big battle.
And it was so gorgeous.
Yeah.
And there's so much good stuff about it. I mean, you get all the different powers, and they play differently, and
then at a certain point in time, I just stopped playing it, and it's not like I was playing 5 or 6 other things instead of it. It didn't keep me going.
Right.
And I've sort of looked at it. I've still got it. I look at it every once in a while. I'm like, I really want to get back into it, but I don't think I'm going to ever play that game again.
Yeah. I think at some point I'm going to finish it, but I think that about a lot of things.
Yeah. Yep.
So who knows? It plays really well over remote play. So maybe one night, like with insomnia, I'll be like sitting up in bed and I'll just like blast through the last 4 hours or whatever. Like, I'm sure I'm pretty deep into it. So.
Yep.
Number 1. Surprised that it didn't make it on my list is Dark Souls 2, because Dark Souls 1 was my game of the generation.
Mm-hmm.
Dark Souls 2, according to Steam, I have... Let me see. I have 10 hours played, which is not a lot for a Dark Souls game. It just did not... It did not hook me at all. So, like I said, I'm hoping, the PlayStation 4 version or next gen version is coming, or current gen is coming, and it has all the DLC. I'm giving it another go and hope it hooks me like the previous Souls games did. But
I don't know. Have you ever had a turnaround like that? Like, I can't remember a game where I had like 10 hours in,
Mhm.
I then had to turn around. Not that, I mean, maybe I did.
I
I just,
Interestingly enough, I did with Infamous 2,
okay.
which Infamous is Second Son is number 2 on my list, and it's the Second Son. There's a lot of twos happening right now.
Mm,
But I got to a point with Infamous 2 where I was like, I'm bored of this game. And then one day I was like, I'm just gonna pick it up. I'm not gonna do a single side mission. I'm just
right.
gonna do story mission, story mission, story mission, story mission, beat it. And I did that over the course of 2 or 3 days. And I was like, holy crap, that was amazing. And James Chilton from the wonderful Double KO
Yep.
podcast was pretty much at the same point as me. And I just kept telling him, like, just, talking on Skype, whatever. It's like, just pick it up again, ignore all of the stuff on the side, and
Yeah.
then go through it. And he did it, and then he was like, that was awesome. It
Yeah.
was like, so it has happened to me, but that's something that's specific to Infamous because it's an open world game where we basically decided to ignore the open world.
Hmm.
Dark Souls 2, I don't know. We'll see.
Um, okay, so that's that list.
Yeah, those are my 2 lists.
Okay. Before we get into your top 10 and my top 5, I want to throw a couple more out that did not make it into my top 5 that, I didn't play enough of games, non-sports games, to have a top 10. But Drive Club did not make it into my top 5 list. I do enjoy Drive Club. It looks so good. It's the best looking video game I've ever played. It just isn't quite the racing game for me because I've reached a point where things have gotten really difficult. And unlike certain kinds of things, I'm just, and there's a reason I have it, and there's a reason I am not selling it because I am going to play it some more. It's a very technical game, though, and you need to be good at it to be successful at it once you get past like the first the intro or beginner season or rookie season. But the reason I will play it more is because, number one, it looks amazing. It's got some great cars. Like, oh my gosh, there's a car that I got the other day that I didn't realize, Pete, was an electric car. I kept wondering, like, why don't I hear anything? And then I realized it's got no engine, not a a gasoline fueled engine, and all I hear is just as I'm zipping around, and then when I come up against a car, then I hear the other car. Like, there's a lot of those little cool moments in Drive Club, but it's just not quite to make my top 5. If I had like a top 7, it might have been number 7, but again, there's just something it doesn't quite do for me. I very much respect it. It has nothing to do with making a statement of the broken launch. I mean,
right.
I'm not going to get on a high horse. I mean, it's disappointing. It was extremely disappointing, but at a certain point in time, you either play a game and like it or you don't play a game and like it. I play the game, I like it. I'm going to play it more, but it's just not quite there for me. We talked about Infamous Second Son. Super Mega Baseball, sports game or not, didn't make it. I appreciate the game. It's fun. I'm not gaga over it like a whole bunch of other people are. It was cute for a little while. I don't know if I'll play it. Maybe I'll play it some more, but it's just there's nothing going on in the way that I play games that I think I'll be playing a whole lot of Super Mega Baseball.
Right. Like when you want to play season mode, you're gonna pick up NBA 2K15.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Like there's no reason why you're gonna be like, I want to play Super Mega Baseball.
But it's fun. I mean, I want to be clear. It's a fun game, and in the right scenario, it's great. Like if my brother-in-law, when he comes over, right, the 3 or 4 times a year, I guarantee you the game that we're going to play is going to be Super Mega Baseball because we both have had a lot of fun playing that game because he loves baseball, I love baseball, and the show is just too much for somebody to play that hasn't played the game. So. In the right situation, or if my son was like 9 or 10 and loved baseball, we might be playing it every day. It could be number one on my list, right? It's just
Right.
where I am right now in my life.
Yeah.
That's why it's not on the list.
Same here. Can I throw a sports game in real quick?
Go for it.
Like just because I just got it recently.
Yeah.
But I am like head over heels for it right now is PES.
Oh, yeah.
It's so good.
It's so much better than FIFA.
It is so much better than FIFA. It really is. I went through and just manually renamed. Like I found a wiki, and just so I was able to make the Premier League.
Nice.
Like I didn't rename all of the players because they have like
they got a bunch.
2/3 of the players, maybe.
Like
and over half.
And to you and me, does it really matter?
Exactly.
It doesn't matter.
I'm like, oh, LaFleur. Okay, yeah, that guy. I've never heard of that guy, but whatever. I don't know who he is, but yeah, like they have all of the major players,
Yeah.
Sterling's in there,
Yeah.
Coutinho's in there, like the major guys on Liverpool are in there.
Yeah.
So I just went through and renamed all the teams. I've been playing the season on that. Man, that game's so good.
Oh, it's so good.
But it's like I just got it like 4 days ago, so there's no way I could throw it on a list.
Yeah,
I
haven't
not
had
Polygon.
time.
I am not going to play.
But we're gonna like try to do an online league. You, me, and Darby. I haven't started, but once we started, I have a feeling the three of us will be obsessing over that game. Which I could also retroactively put on my
exactly
listing of the year list. Yes, no, that's excellent. A couple other games I wanted to mention that didn't make my list that I wanted. We talked about one, which was Shovel Knight. The other one is Rogue Legacy. I mean, I guess it's clear to me, Pete. Like we all have games that we like and we don't like, or game genres we like and we don't like. I don't like. I don't personally enjoy tower defense, but Pixel Junk Monsters might be my favorite game ever. Right. I mean, it's not, but boy, I've played that game a lot and will continue to play that game a lot. I haven't quite found a roguelike that I like, and Rogue Legacy I know a lot of people loved, and I played in Spelunky, and I played, and I had fun at times, but there's just something about those kind of games that don't grab me. But I did play them. I do respect them. I can tell that they are quality.
Right.
But when it comes to me personally having fun, those games didn't do it for me. So.
Yeah.
All right, so I just wanted to say those things. And I'm ready for...
Should I do my 10 through 5 then?
Yeah, do your 10 through 5.
That was kind of your 10 through 5?
Yeah, if I had, those would have reluctantly gone there.
So my number 10 is actually a tower defense game, and it's interesting to me because I have sort of fallen off of tower defense games because they have gotten weirder and weirder to the point where like a lot of the strategy has disappeared.
Yeah.
And so I've sort of fallen off the genre, but I love the first one and am in love with the second one currently. I play it daily. So number 10 for me is Defense Grid 2. Wonderful, wonderful game. Overpriced. It's like $25 on PSN. It's like I got on a sale for $12.50, which was the perfect price for it. Massive game, tons of different modes, fully voice acted, which is weird for a tower defense game, and every voice actor is amazing except for one, which makes no sense to me. It makes no goddamn sense to me, but so that's my number 10. Number 9 is Velocity 2X. I loved it. I played it mostly on the Vita. That was my go-to Vita game for the longest time.
What is my problem with that? Why don't I love that game like everyone else does?
It's just like you weren't like a big like NES guy back in the day, so like you probably didn't play a lot of shoot 'em ups,
I was
shmups.
I was, but I was so broke. All I had was Blades of Steel, RBI Baseball, and Super Tecmo Bowl. That's all that I played on that platform, like literally, because I had no money, zero.
Right. Yeah. So I love shmups, and Velocity 2X takes the shmup to a really interesting place where it's almost a puzzle game in a way.
Oh, definitely.
And the art is gorgeous. The music is amazing. It's a great game.
Okay.
It's my indie game of the year.
Hmm.
Uh, and yeah, it's number 9. Number
Okay.
8 is Lords of the Fallen,
Nice.
which ranks higher than Dark Souls 2. I feel
Wow.
like Lords of the Fallen, even though it is a blatant attempt at like, oh, here's the Souls games, let's make a game like it. They did enough things differently to make it feel like a new experience. And I like the vast majority of the changes that they made. It's the same reason why when I was at the PlayStation Experience, when I played Bloodborne, I was like, in a way, I was like, thank God this isn't Dark Souls 3. Like, they took parts of the Souls games and made it something different. Um, and I just really like that game a lot. Number 7 is Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare. Who I don't know how this game even got made. Like, PopCap was like, hey, Plants vs. Zombies, everyone plays it on their phone. How about we make it a first-person shooter using the Battlefield engine? Okay. It's awesome, though. It's so fun. It's so funny.
I've
It's
also
great.
heard through Chris Johnston from the Player One podcast that the community is also not your typical FPS community. It's actually quite
They're
fun
so
and not
nice.
not
Everyone is
yeah,
so nice on that game. And they suck. So if you're good at
right.
first-person shooters, you just dominate them. It's so
That's
good.
great. That is great, especially for old people like us.
Yeah, exactly. All right, number 6 is Shadow of Mordor. Love the game. They're just word games that I loved more. So it was 6.
All right. Well, that brings us to my number 5, and my number 5 is number 5 because it was a complete and utter surprise to me. I went into this game, number 1, having never heard about it. Number 2, once I heard about it, looking at screenshots of it and thought, oh my God, I'm going to hate this game. Then when I started playing it, I was completely baffled by it and was thinking, oh, there's no way that I'm going to get through this thing. I'm going to be confused. I'm not going to know what to do. And then when I finished it, I was blown away by how I realized what was happening and how moving and emotional it was to me. So number 5 on my list is Murasaki Baby, which I
Damn, I thought you were
love.
going to say Valiant Hearts. You
Love
just you just threw a curveball.
Murasaki Baby. Again, everything about it screamed, Rich Grisham will hate this, and yet I loved it. And again, it
I
was
still
like
haven't played it.
I did not realize I loved it until the minute I finished it. And as soon as I finished, I was like, oh, that was beautiful. And it was so weird and so many strange things. The
Mm-hmm.
art style is bizarre. The way it communicates with you is crazy. Some puzzles are freakish. Controls perfect. I mean, it's on the Vita. I should say that it's only on the Vita. I think. I don't think it's on anything
Yeah.
else. I mean, and it
Yeah. It couldn't be played on anything else, I don't think.
right. I mean, very much like Tearaway last year.
Right.
It was built with the Vita back touch and front touch in my. It was short,
Old
perfect.
guys like short.
Love it. Love it. I have virtually nothing negative to say about Murasaki Baby, and
Mm.
I have a feeling a lot of people that play it will be like, what is he talking about? This is, but
It's
I love.
actually surprising. That game had a lot of, like, not hype from the mainstream or even gaff or whatever, but like people really into the Vita were excited for that game, and it's quieted down. Like I haven't heard any, like, you mentioning that game right now is the first time I think I've heard about it in like a month and a half.
Yeah, and I don't know how it did. I don't think it obviously did well, but yeah, love it. Number 5 could have easily been higher. But as I sort of looked through what I played and enjoyed this year, I felt like that was the right place for it. Hirosaki Baby.
Right. My number 5 was, as President Reagan said, the greatest racer of all time. I don't really agree with that, but it's close. Drive Club. I love this game so much that when it was broken, I had fun. When they started to fix it, I had even more fun. When it was completely fixed, I was having a blast. When they gave us shit for free because of the fact that it was broken for so long, I was shitting all over myself. And it just gets better and better. Oh, here we go. Like, here's a patch, and now there's weather. Here, and now there's photo mode. And now, and it just keeps building on itself. And I must say, the Dodd Scientifics community is a huge part of it too, because we started our own time trial thing.
Right.
Before the challenges even worked, we did basically what the challenges are, which was like, okay, you pick this car, you start at this time of day with this weather, with this, and then we, you take screenshots of how you do, and that's that. And that's a huge component of games these days. I mean, most of my friends are through video games, which is sad, but
why is that?
It's the world I live in, and Drive Club has made me friends, and I have enjoyed it. And I also feel like I haven't dug into Drive Club as deeply as I'm capable of, because of games higher up on the list. So there may be a point, like in 2 or 3 months, where I'm just you'll just see, every time you turn on the PlayStation Network, Famous Mortimer, Drive Club. I feel like I haven't even dove in yet.
I've said quite a bit about Drive Club, not only tonight but in the past. Something else that I haven't said is I have reversed my stance on the drift challenges. I kind of like them now.
Yeah. Once you get it down, they're fun.
And I don't have them down, but I've got them to enough where I can get 1 or 2 stars after a couple of tries. And I feel like if I really worked at it for another 10 or 15 minutes, I could get the 3 stars if I really had to. I think there's too many drift challenges still. It feels like there's just more than there should be in the tour, but. Not drift challenge, drift events. You know what I mean? The events in the tour. But at first I hated them. Now I don't hate them at all. They're kind of fun. And obviously it depends upon the car that you're driving. Quite an impressive car selection. Yeah, I mean, Drive Club, I don't feel about it like the way that I feel about Little Big Planet, where I think it could retroactively make it to the top 5. But it is a game that I will continue to be playing for some time at certain points where I'm like, I feel like racing, and I don't want to plug in my Xbox One.
And you have to admit, besides obviously the servers being broken to the servers working, just throw that out of your mind. The game itself has been improving over time as well.
Yeah, I mean,
which is cool, and for free.
Yeah, well, not anymore. The other night when I went to go get a car to play a challenge, they wanted to charge me money for it, and that's when... My positive feelings got a little less positive,
etc.
Got a little less positive.
I did not, or me and my share partner both did not buy the season pass until everything was fixed. It's like, as much as I said I loved it when it was broken, it still was like, we're not going to give them more money while it's still broken. Yeah. And then all of a sudden it wasn't broken anymore, and then it was like, okay, let's do this.
Yeah, I mean, I try not to be a guy who's making statements. It's not making a statement. I just don't feel like I want to pay any more money for Drive Club other than the money I've already paid for it. So that kind of feels a little. But
you get, every track is free, which is the best part. Like cars they charge for, single player events they charge for, but tracks are free. So 6 months from now, it's not like if me, you, and Darby, and Mick, and whoever want to play Drive Club, we don't have to go, who, like, did anyone not buy this track pack? I mean, that's a major problem with like first-person shooters, right? Like it's like once all of the map packs start coming out, it's like, oh, we have a guy with us who doesn't have the map pack, so we have to play the original maps. Like, I like that Drive Club was like, no, tracks are free, cars, and single player events. That's what the season pass goes towards.
Yeah, to me it's not the right message, but who cares? I get it, right? They're they're doing what everybody else does, which is trying to make money and run a business. It's totally fine with me. It's totally fine with me by not paying them any money. But hey, NBA 2K15, I'm not paying them any money either, right? I'm not making a statement. I'm just, for whatever reason, I got a mental block. I'm not buying anything with a game anymore. I haven't bought a season pass or bought DLC other than one particular game that we'll get to in a little bit. Number 4 on my list, Pete Dodd, is Forza Horizon 2.
Higher than Drive Club on mine.
A wonderfully entertaining, fun game that is not nearly as difficult and doesn't look nearly as good, and is just very different in concept and execution. Not saying it's better, just different. And for me, in 2014, felt like just more fun. I just had more fun playing Forza Horizon 2 than I did playing Drive Club. And again, same kind of thing where, I'll go a couple of weeks without playing Forza Horizon, then I'll pop it in and play for like 3 hours. Like, this is great. I love it, I love it, I love it, I love it. Forza Horizon 2 is easily the only game that I played other than Titanfall on my Xbox One this year for any extended amount of time. And if the Xbox One was my main system, I would have probably played it 3 times as much. But because I have to go behind my TV and unplug the HDMI cable from my PS4 and plug in the Xbox One, that little extra step probably costed about 20 hours, which sounds ridiculous, but it's true.
I'll link you an HDMI switch that costs about $14 later. But yeah, no, that game is fantastic. The only reason why it's not on my list is because I didn't play enough of it.
Yep.
Like, I don't have an Xbox One right now. I had to play it at my wife's cousin's house, like with their kids, and it just, I loved playing it, but I just didn't get enough time with it. It's one of those things. When I do get the Xbox One again, it's pretty much the top of the list. Like, that's the game that I'm looking most forward to, like, sinking into that and getting back into Titanfall.
Yeah, it sounds like hyperbole, but because I'm not a professional games journalist, I can say this. It's just that I don't think there's been a time where I've been playing Forza Horizon 2 that I wasn't enjoying myself. It's just fun. It's just really fun, and it's not. There are definite challenges, like it's not easy. Like some of the I don't know what they're called, but like I think they're called like the bucket list challenges. Some of those things are freaking impossible. But there's a lot of stuff in there that is not impossible, and that's fun sometimes. Is to not be constantly challenged and have to know every line and where to break at every spot. Just to.
You're casual. We get it.
Yep, totally casual, man. Hipster casual. That's me. All right, back to you, Mr. Dodd.
My number 4 is also a game that, like, every second you're playing it, it's really fun, which is Little Big Planet 3.
Yeah. Okay.
They're just, it's not Media Molecule, but it feels like it's Media Molecule, and they just, but they actually did things like all of the Little Big Planet games have added on to each other, and they all work with prior stuff. Like in Little Big Planet 2, I made a tower defense game, which I'm still really proud of. I actually still play. It's only been played like 100 times. I spent like 75 hours building it, so it's ridiculous that I spent that much time and no one's played it. But so that, all of the older levels work in it. The story is awesome. The all of the online stuff is awesome. Like, the added depth is awesome. The fact that you can actually sort of walk in a circle between planes instead of just flipping back and forth, the fact that there's multiple characters and characters that aren't floaty, so we don't have to listen to Player One podcast other than Mike Phillips go, it's too fucking floaty. Mike Phillips, tell him, play another fucking character then. And it's good. It's just a fun, really just. It just makes me happy. The music, everything. Yes. Like there's nothing wrong with that game.
Yeah,
as far as I'm concerned.
Like I say, like playing with my 7-year-old son, I am very delighted at everything that it is projecting. It just has that whimsical happiness that I'm glad that as a youngster, my boy is going to sort of get that sense of games, because when he gets to be 11, 13, 15, he'll be playing, the brown shoot 'em ups that all his friends will be playing and stuff. But he'll remember, games like that as sort of, that's what games are, kind of like when we first started playing games. So that's cool.
Right.
When do those characters like get introduced at a certain point in time? Because we keep seeing them on the splash screen, but so far it's just our two little sack boys running around. Do they?
Yeah. You get introduced to each of them one at a time, and you learn what their special skills are.
Cool, good stuff. All right, number 3 on my list. I'm just realizing this now. This is my third console. Or a third platform, right? I went from Vita to the Xbox One, now to the Wii U, is Mario Kart 8. For many of the reasons that I spoke about why I have so far enjoyed Little Big Planet 3 and hope to continue is because my son and I have had nothing but a riotously good time playing Mario Kart 8. Haven't gone online, bought the DLC, that was cool, but it's just fun encapsulated in a video game. It looks stupendous. It sounds great. I love the bunches of characters that you can be. When my two little nieces came over, they were able to play as various princesses, which they delighted in. Right. Man, the tracks are so good. So many different kinds of like Excite Bike. My son and I love to play Excite Bike on my 3DS every once in a while. And when we first played the Excite Bike track, we were just like, "Whoa, this is amazing!" And
that must be a DLC track because I have not played that.
It is, and he and I we play a lot of Mario Kart 7, I guess, which is the 3DS, 2DS. Like we battle each other a lot in that, and. Maybe it's because I haven't played every Mario Kart. In fact, I've played very few, except in the last couple of years. But all the throwback stuff, and when you go from 7 to 8, there's a lot of pointing back to different things, and I don't know. It's just we've had so much fun playing it, and even better, we're going to continue to have fun playing it moving forward. Like some games, like Murasaki Baby, I might never ever play again, and I don't need to. Whereas Mario Kart 8, I'll probably keep playing all through the year, right, in 2015. Wonderful, 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 great, super, terrific, awesome fun.
Right. Mario Kart 8 did not make any of my lists because I wasn't disappointed with it. I wasn't surprised that it didn't make my list. It really was just sort of the situation.
Sure.
Like, I had it.
Yep.
And Arne and I streamed it, and people who watched the stream, like Mr. Shy Smile, a bunch of cool people would hop in our online races, and it was a lot of fun. But then it just kind of the fun burned out rather quickly for me. But I don't think that's the game's fault. Like, I kind of felt like that was my fault, so I didn't want to penalize it in any way. So I didn't put it on a list of, like, this game did something wrong. Like, it didn't do anything wrong. After a while, I just was like, I like, Drive Club. Like, that, I like Forza, and I like Gran Turismo, and I like there's only so much of that really arcadey racing with weapons and shit that I can take.
Well, I mean, I did not like Mario Kart until my son showed up, and that's the only reason this game is on the list. If he and I didn't play a bunch I wouldn't, I wouldn't get. I mean, to me, Mario Kart 8 single player, who cares?
Right.
Boring. But
I
that's me.
I played probably 2 hours of it single player.
Boring. No point.
Yeah.
But me versus my son and a bunch of other characters, and
Mhm.
we're laughing, and I'm shoving him, and he's pushing me, and because I'm bigger, I get to, accidentally knock his controller out, near the end or something. It's fun. Super
You
great.
do what you got to do to win.
Hey, that's right. He's got to learn those lessons early. All right, what's
Excellent.
number 3 for you, Pete Dodd?
Where the hell did I put it? I have too many tabs open. Number 3 for me is, and I will not spend a lot of time talking about this because it's one of the most boring podcast topics in the world, is Hearthstone. I just really, really like this game. I play it on my PC. I play it on my tablet. When I wake up in bed, my tablet's there. When I check Twitter, I check my email, and then I play a game of Hearthstone. I just am obsessed with Hearthstone. I don't know what else to say about it other than that, so I'll leave it at that.
Hard to argue. I mean, a lot of people love that game, and that's one of those things that maybe 3 years from now I'll discover, or not discover, but I'll play. Right? I mean, Hearthstone to me is kind of like Pixel Junk Monsters, right? It might be that thing that I play 3 years from now that'll be spectacular. I won't know, but I just so many people love that game. It's hard to think I'll never try that.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2 on my list is Far Cry 4. There's a lot of.
I don't have a problem with Far Cry 4. It's just.
There are a lot of reasons it's number 2. And I'll just kind of rattle some of them off. First off is I've never played a Far Cry game. I've heard many people who have played many Far Cry games say that Far Cry 4 does not do it for them because it is so samey or so similar to Far Cry 3.
Right. Yeah, it's not similar to 2 or 1, but
Right.
it is very much Far Cry 3 in a different setting.
Another reason I like it so much is because I didn't buy any other games this fall.
Mm.
I said I want to try one of the big guys, and I'm going to spend time playing it. And I have played. I'm at 25 hours of this game, and I'm at like 55%.
Mm-hmm.
If I had 3 or 4 or 5 games, 3 or 4 or 5 more of those games sitting in front of me, there's no way, because I would have seen all the stuff that I could do, and I would have been, do I go here, do I go there, and it would have gotten like it used to be for me with games like this in the past, where I would just get lost and distracted and forget about it. But
Right.
I love the grind of Far Cry 4. Like, instead of sort of being intimidated by it, I love to go take out an outpost and take out a bell tower.
Or hunt.
What's that?
Or hunt to build stuff.
I'm not. Hunting is the one thing I only do out of necessity. Like, of all the different side missions you can do, like you can go take out the Pagan Min's armored cars. I've completed that. Like, a lot of the various missions, a lot of the stuff that I've done, but the only ones that I haven't done are like the mission where you have to go like hunt the big game and stuff. Not morally, just because I just don't like enjoy killing elephants and rhinos. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of other stuff that I'm doing already that hasn't prevented me from advancing. For example,
for me, it wasn't necessarily killing the animals, but it was the fact that like it wasn't just like you go to the store and buy a thing. It was you go do something and now you can hold 2 guns.
Which I've done.
Like I think that is more fun than get 5,000 experience points and then you can hold 2 guns.
Right.
That's
And
what
that
I
and
like
that
about the hunting. Not so much like let's go kill animals.
Well, there's a couple different things, right? There's the hunting that you do so that you can hold more money in your wallet, for example. So I've done that a couple times. I haven't maximized any of those things, but I've done each one to like at least level 2. But then there's
Right.
other like side missions where you can actually go hunt a very specific animal as a just a mission in and of itself. And I'm
Yeah,
sort of one of those.
I haven't done any of those.
But all the other ones, all the other side missions, I have done, if not completed, but significant amounts of. For example, there's a point in time. This, I guess, is a spoiler. There's a point in time where you find your family's ancestral home, and you complete a couple of missions, and then that becomes one of the many places that you can fast travel to, and you have a little store that you can buy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But unlike any other of those places, you can then do things to your home. You can paint the outside. You can, put in like plumbing so that you can have water. You can build a garden.
So you're playing Animal Crossing?
Well, wait, are you asking have I, or are you telling me that I am?
No, I'm telling you, you are.
Okay.
At this point.
But I enjoy Far Cry so much that I completely got every single thing for my home. So now whenever I'm in trouble, just go back to my house, armor, get myself some body armor.
Mm-hmm.
I cut all the different, because instead now of having to go, get this yellow leaf or this purple leaf, I now got a garden where all that stuff grows. I got decorations. I can go get a little money. I mean, it's just
Right.
like
You can stand next to a nicely painted wall.
I can stand next to a lovely painted wall. The bottom line is Far Cry 4, because I have not played a Far Cry game before, because I don't have 5 other games competing for my attention, I enjoy the fact that I'm taking it slow and I'm doing a lot of stuff, and instead of just trying to blast through the story missions, and I've gotten through quite a bit of the story missions, I'm just thoroughly enjoying the world of Karat, though it is gorgeous. And my house now, I got my own helicopter. So I don't have to go find where they are. Just if I ever want to fly around the world, just go back to my house and fly around. It's spectacular. I've opened up the entire map, so I can go anywhere now. I haven't gotten all the bell towers or all the outposts, but I've gotten a lot of them. I'm just thoroughly enjoying it, and it's because I haven't played a lot of this kind of game in the last couple of years. It's because I don't have a lot of other games competing for my attention, so I don't have that anxiety of trying to hurry up and get through everything. And it's because obviously it's a good game, but at the end of the day, I'm glad that I chose Far Cry 4 as the big fall release that I was going to go for,
right?
Because it's scratching that itch. But like Grand Theft Auto 5 wouldn't have done it. I've played Grand Theft Auto 5. I know it. For whatever reason, it doesn't have that cynical nastiness to it. It's very sad. Don't get me wrong. It's very sad. Like everywhere you go, there's like dead people, which is not cool. Like when you discover a new little place, most of the time, people there have been slaughtered. The story is okay. It certainly keeps me going. I mean, I don't like a lot of the stuff that's going on with that, but I don't know. It's a lot of circumstances have made themselves, to the point where Far Cry 4 is a game that I'm going to there's no doubt I'm going to finish the game, and I don't finish a lot of these kinds of games.
Right.
And I won't 100% it, but I'll 65 or 75% it because I'm already at 55%, and it will be a game that I will definitely remember, and who knows if I'll play Far Cry 5 or whatever, but Far Cry 4 is scratching a lot of itches for me that most games of its ilk I am repulsed by, whereas Far Cry 4 I am not.
Well, here's what I love about Far Cry 4. There's 2 things. One, I bought it. I played a bunch of it. You and I played co-op. I decided to sell it because I actually bought it physically, and I have 10,000 games that I need to play right now. So I was like, I might as well. Like I got like $45 for it, and when I buy it, I'll buy it for $20. Yep. So I'm gonna make out fine. So that's one thing that I like about it. But the bigger thing that I like about it is the next time and the next 15 times, Rich Grisham goes, but the violence and it slit his neck and man, I get to go Far Cry 4.
Yeah, well, I am aware of what I'm doing by saying this. But hey, look, I'm honest, right?
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about it.
I actually I approve of this. No, approve's not even the right word. I think that it's fantastic that you got into it, that you dig the game, and I also think that's great that I can bust your balls about it.
And the funny thing is, it's not like playing this game makes me want to go try Watch Dogs or GTA 5. In fact, it makes me less inclined to go out and play those other, because I have a feeling Far Cry 4 is probably the best game of its ilk that I can be playing right now.
Well, we'll take GTA 5 out of it because that's a Rockstar game. Ubisoft has pretty much the same formula for every game that they make, and it works by far best in Far Cry. And that's been proven twice in a row now with Far Cry 3 and Far Cry 4. So much better than Assassin's Creed, fucking Watch Dogs, the crew. I mean, they made a driving game that has the same setup that they've been using forever, you know? So...
And I've played Assassin's Creed games. You know, after the second one, I was like, fine. You know, a game that's based completely around assassinations didn't do it for me. Again, it's not like playing Far Cry. I'm like, oh, I'm a changed person now. I'm all about it. No, it's just this particular game. The game is just so good, and my circumstances are where I'm just thoroughly enjoying it. But I still think
you watch the opening, and the guy slit his neck, and then your pants got a little tight, and you're like, maybe I like this.
Yeah. So, but yeah, Far Cry 4 is spectacular. It's great. I love it. I'm going to finish it, and I don't know if I'll play another game like it for another year or two. I might not, but. This game.
Well, don't you worry. Far Cry 5 will be out soon enough.
And right, and who knows what that'll all be about. But so yeah, Far Cry 4, number 2.
Excellent. Well, unlike you, I'm not a huge fan of like violent shooters. So my number 2 is called Titanfall, and Titanfall, to me, is everything that a competitive online shooter should be for people who aren't looking to be pros. And that may make it sound like this is for casuals, but that's not true, because there's only, let's say 1,000 professional gamers who just, they play Call of Duty all day long, or they play fucking StarCraft all day long. This game is for the rest of us, where if you're good at it, you will not only just be killing AI, but you'll be killing other humans because you're better at it than they are. If you're not good at it, you'll run around and you'll kill AI, and you'll be like, I'm killing things. This is great. I feel really good about this. And the map design is amazing. The just moving around, like the wall running, the double jump, getting in the Titan, like all of the things that they did work, and they're all fun. There isn't something where you're like, the wall running's kind of shitty. Like, they got it perfect. You don't get hung up on things that they really, really smoothed the game out, so it just felt perfect all of the time. And it is, as much as there's so much hype going into it about how it's going to change the first-person shooter forever or whatever. And then it did all right. It did well. Like it was, but it wasn't a massive success. But if you look at the shooters that have come out this fall, look at Destiny has the double jump. You look at Call of Duty has the fucking thing that makes you sort of fly around and stuff like it. It did cause a shift that is good. Like instead of just going like forward, backwards, left, right, now we go up, down, triangle. Triangle's not a direction at all, but we'll just pretend it is. I'm gonna go triangle, and then I'm gonna snipe somebody, and it's just fun. It's just a goddamn fun game. Just fun, 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 fun. And unlike the Press Row podcast, other games are fun. I'm not going to say Super Mega Baseball. Oh, it's the first time we're saying fun. I like all games. They're all fun. But Titanfall, I just had a blast playing. And people who watch my streams know that. Like back in March, April, May, June, July, I was streaming that game all the time like this. I loved it. I had so much fun with it. And I miss it.
And, it's so funny, right? You talk about Mario Kart 8, in circumstances, right? Like, I got Titanfall, but, and I played on from the minute that Return to Castle Wolfenstein came out on the original Xbox through some Rainbow Sixes and a couple of Halos. I played mostly online shooters with friends and then sort of fell out of it when time constraints prevented me from sort of keeping up in skill. And so Titanfall, when it came out and what it did, just didn't work for me personally, but it was nothing to do with the game. It was just like, hey, look, I'm not going to Titanfall, just any online shooter is not going to work for me these days right now. It might work 5 years from now, but right now.
I think Titanfall 2, with a single-player campaign, co-op, they just recently added co-op for free, which is really cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
I haven't tried it, but people who have tried it say that it's amazing. So, like the full package of Titanfall 2, I think, is going to be like the game.
Yep.
But Titanfall 1 as a new IP from a new studio, even like we kind of forget that because it was so hyped.
Yes.
It was just so massively overhyped that it felt like this is the newest game from the giantest fucking thing ever.
Yeah.
And it wasn't. The game was made by less than 100 people. Assassin's Creed Unity was made by over 1,000 people. It's the scope of it is so much different, but they nailed how to play. Just running, shooting, running on walls, all of it. They just nailed it. It all felt great.
So my favorite game of the year was not even. It didn't take me. It took me no time, no personal controversy. It was an easy choice. My favorite game in 2014 was Valiant Hearts: The Great War. Loved everything about it. People say it so much that it almost it loses its meaning. But if there was a video game that was made for me, it was Valiant Hearts: The Great War. I have, ever since I was a kid, just been fascinated by World War I. Trench warfare and the old European countries and the maps, and things like the Austro-Hungarian Empire and
right.
Prussians and czars and stuff like this.
Doesn't like Prussians,
And so just that as the backdrop, because that is a oft unexplored backdrop in games, and the different. The art style appealed to me. The different sorts of types of things that you did in the game. It's not the same thing over and over. It's some puzzles. It's some action. It's a little bit of driving. I thought a wonderful soundtrack. I thought just really a bunch of nifty little nuances. I liked the little historical artifacts that you would find that would then give you descriptions about things that had happened. A lot of people might make fun of me for this choice, but again, for me, as far as what I enjoyed for what it was and because of who I am, Valiant Hearts: The Great War is easily my favorite game in 2014, no doubt.
That does not surprise me, because since you finished it, you have been singing that game's praises.
And I didn't even know it was coming out until I had no idea about it until about a month before it came out, if that. I was like, wait, there's a World War I game coming out, and it's the characters are a dog and a nurse. Oh, there's there's no way I'm gonna like that game. There's one of the things, and I apologize, I forget who mentioned it earlier, but somebody had on their list. It not only does a good job of sort of portraying in a little bit of a way what the soldiers' experience was like, but it also, there's a couple of levels where it gives you an idea of what it was like for the citizenry that was experiencing it, and the mechanized warfare of things like mustard gas and barbed wire and the first kinds of machine guns and tanks and airplanes and things like that. There's and you play as different people, and sometimes you're playing as different people in the same level, and you sort of go back and forth, and one character has to do something so the other character can do stuff too. So yeah, I just thoroughly enjoyed it, loved that it was made, love that it exists, and hope that whoever made that game gets to do stuff like that in the future.
Right. Well, picking it as number one on the Doddcast, I think that's enough influence that there's going to be about 5 more. Assuming that the 5 people that listen to the Doddcast work on that team.
I think that's a fair assumption.
Or the money men over at Ubisoft. Hell, you have a Ubisoft game at number 1.
Yeah.
How about that?
And number
2.
Wow. Yikes.
Ubisoft apologist.
I will.
There.
You can send those checks to Rich Grisham.
I know you get enough EA apologists.
Oh, God, yes.
On Press Row.
Wow.
You need to get enough podcasts that you're an apologist for every major publisher.
Well, I'm halfway there, right?
Yeah. Just get on a Call of Duty one. Oh, this is great. I love paying $2 to make my weapon have fucking stripes on it.
Yeah, man.
It's amazing. All right, so in news that is not surprising to anyone, but I'm not going to back down, and I'm not going to qualify it. I'm not going to say, well, it did this right and it did this wrong or whatever. Destiny is my game of the year because I love playing Destiny.
Amen to that.
There's nothing really more to say, even though I'm going to say a lot more, but that is the bottom line. When I turn on Destiny, I enjoy playing Destiny. I am currently working on my second character who I want to get up to a high level. Was playing earlier today, I was playing missions by myself, and I'm like, this is fun. Like, this is totally different because I'm weaker and and I have to think differently. And then like a dude, who watches the show, or listens to the show, hopped in, and I've never played with him or anything, but he's new to Destiny, and he just can, he's on my friends list, so he can just hop in.
I have some advice, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Try, if there's a light on the wall, go grab that light. It's very helpful. Just grab it. Just try to grab the light on the wall when you're playing Destiny, and you'll be good.
I'm turning around like
I know. Oh boy, this joke is going nowhere fast.
That makes the joke better because now we're both idiots.
It's like he's either taking it to a second level or he has no idea what I'm talking about. One or the other.
Yeah, no, I'm gone. So I'm playing, I'm level 18, 17, 18, and I'm playing like just a story mission. I put it on hard mode because I'm a Destiny badass. And this dude jumps in, he's level 13. And like, I don't know, like I'm shy, and like, so we're not really talking, like, but we're playing and we're just getting destroyed and getting destroyed. But it was really fun, like, because we kept trying to do different things, and they kept not working, but we were doing different things, and so every time that we got destroyed, it was in a different way. And that's one of the things that makes Destiny amazing, is that, like, when you play Call of Duty, like single player Call of Duty, it is the same shit at the same point every time. You go down the corridor, there's a bunch of dudes. As soon as you kill a certain amount of them, you get to go further down the corridor, kind of thing. Destiny is not that in any way. And just playing by myself, playing co-op, like, we have a huge group of people on the site who love the game, and we do raids. We've already beaten Crota. We're doing hard and easy of Vaulted Glass. We're always doing like nightfalls, strikes, everything. We're leveling up other guys together. Like, it's a game that you need people for. Like, I enjoy playing the game solo, but I enjoy playing the game solo so I can make my character better for when I play with my friends. Like, that's why I play solo. I don't play solo just for myself. Like, you kind of need to have a group of people that you're playing for, because if you're playing solo just to get better, like, you can hit max level, which right now is 32, and you can't do a raid by yourself at 32. Like, you need a group of people. Like, I understand that there's limitations there, but I'm not going to apologize for it. There's a lot of grinding. There's a lot of random number generator that just fucks you. Like, Galahorn's the greatest goddamn missile launcher that's ever existed, and we have one in our entire clan. Like, the game just hates giving us that gun, and then we go online and we're like, how do we kill this boss? And it's like, oh, shoot 4 Galahorns at it, and we're like, we don't have 4. But still, like you get frustrated, but at the same time, it's like, well, okay, we'll figure something else out, and it's just it's always fun.
What does it say about us, Pete, that we have found these experiences, you and I individually, that we love? We love and the word is overused, but we love the grind. Like, I get on my treadmill every day and I play NBA 2K15, and I play every single game of my player career, and I get my 500,000 VC, and then I play the next game. Or I play my GM, and I play one of the games. I'm halfway through the season. In Far Cry 4, I just hop on and I'll spend an hour, and maybe I'll do one of the campaign missions, or maybe I'll just go out there and I'll take out another outpost and I'll get up another bell tower. Like, and I'm perfectly happy. I could play, as far as myself, I could play NBA 2K and Far Cry 4 for the next 60 days, just like I have basically for the past 60 days.
Right.
Right? When I'm not playing with my son, those are the games that I'm playing, and I love that grind. There's very little different that will happen in game 49 of my second My Player season than will happen in game 3 or in game 81, but yet I love that. It's I guess it's a familiarity. It's a control. With you, clearly, the community is part of it. But again, you even said just on your own, you're playing it. Like, it says something. I don't know what it says about us, but it says something that we just enjoy. That when we find the experience that we like, we just really like that grind.
Well, I mean, at that point, like, grind typically is thought of as a negative. It's something that you have to do over and over again. But the thing is that there is not a video game on this planet where you don't do things over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, for people who like video games, we seek out the games that we like doing the same things over and over again. Like, you and I like playing basketball virtually.
Yep.
So we're going to play NBA 2K over and over and over again. I like shooters. I personally feel like Destiny is the best, has the best shooting mechanics of any console shooter. So no matter what I'm doing in the game, it just feels good. And you add to that like sort of smart mission design or whatever. People get up in arms with the story, but now that I'm going through the story a second time, leveling up a character, I'm like, I actually kind of like the story. I'm not even going to apologize for that. Like, I'm like, it's just, you have to figure out what you enjoy doing in video games and then go do it. And for me, it's Destiny. For me, it is NBA 2K. Like I said, I didn't put sports games in my thing, and it seems to be PES, and it was Titanfall for a really long time, but if you enjoy doing it, there's no reason to feel bad.
And I think that is a great place to cap our list recap, so to speak.
Yes.
Before we go, Pete, did you have something you wanted to mention before we call it a show?
I do. Going into 2015, I'm not really a like New Year's resolution type of person, but one of the things that I really disliked about 2014 is that I felt like I put myself too much out there, and not just myself, but like the fact that like the website's called Dodd Scientifics, which, as you know, I argued against and lost. And the website ended up getting called Dodd Scientifics. When you joined this podcast, I said we have to stop calling it the Doddcast, which you argued against. So in the coming weeks and months and stuff, I'm not trying to run away from anything. Like, I am still Pete Dodd. I'm still Famous Mortimer. I'm still going to be on Twitter. I'm still going to be everywhere. But I've never been comfortable with like how sort of egotistical the whole Dodd Scientifics, Doddcast, like all this shit, like our clan in Destiny is called Scientists de Mort, which in French means scientists of death, but Mort is, Famous Mortimer. So there's going to be renaming of things, and that's not a smart business move. I see you giving me dirty looks, but
no, I'm not at all. I'm not.
I'm just not comfortable with everything being named after me. That's not who I am. I think that puts out a persona of like, oh, this guy fucking loves himself, like, and I'm just not comfortable with it. We've talked about it on the forums and stuff, and people have said you never seem comfortable with it, and I'm like, I'm not. So things are going to be renamed. It's going to be the same stuff. Whatever we rename the Doddcast, it's still going to be the same podcast.
The old Grish dog. Renamed. Done.
I am 100% willing to name it that. But that's just something, like, going into the new year, I just sort of felt like now is the right time to just, like, I don't want to try to sell myself on my name. It's just, I don't like it.
Well, all right. That was news to me, and
yeah.
Okay.
Probably like, why didn't you call me and tell me this?
Yeah, it's fine.
But
look, 2014 for Pete Dodd was a challenge in every single way. Yeah. So I'm just glad that you and I were able to get together and talk about things that make us laugh and smile and enjoy ourselves, right? I mean, I do a lot of things in my life, and chatting with you about games is one of the things I do that's a whole lot of fun. So I'm glad that we got
here. I had pretty much as awful of a day as can be, and I just had a really good 2 hours.
Awesome.
So thank you, Rich, and thank you for the people who listen to this.
Yep, absolutely. All right, Pete. We'll do this again soon. Obviously, schedules and holidays and things like that have made it a little more difficult to do this as often as we want to, but
Right.
we'll do this again soon. And here's to an awesome 2015.
Awesome. See ya.
Thanks everybody for watching and listening. We'll talk to you again real soon.